It's almost like he's blending the Tarantino Pulp Fiction narrative style with Irish folklore, sort of Blair Witch Project kind of aesthetic.
A thing that I love about him is that he does turn these little murder mystery horror films that are so simple and so elegantly put together, where you're swerving with where the film goes. But he has a very profound voice.
With everything that's in the screenplay, it's almost like looking into the sun. There's so much. And then finally, when that happens, was it really a catharsis or transformation? He wanted it to be so much of a fun house that he lost the plot, as it were. But hello, friends and listeners. You have a brand new episode of Watch Skip Plus. We want to be your go-to source for insightful and pop-cultured movie reviews. My name is Jose, also known as Cupcake, and I'm joined by my podcast significant other, Mike.
That was
also
funny.
Known as the wildebeest. Yeah. Your husband's really handsome. I love that you guys do the podcast together. No, Mike is not my husband.
No,
How you doing?
I'm doing well. And I don't know how many times I talk about my wife. Yes, she's buff, and yes, she's a bodybuilder, but she's very much a woman.
I'm like, he's talking about me. It's me. Anyway. So, what are we reviewing this week? Because this, again, seems to be like counter-programming. The big movie this weekend was The Devil Wears Prada 2, part of the annual, as in the year of Anne Hathaway. I've heard some really bad things about it, though. Like really poopy anti-feminist stuff.
Some like anti-Asian sentiments on a character. But then everybody who's like a critic who wrote for magazines, because it's about how, basically magazines are going away and journalists have to pivot out of their careers.
Sure.
So all the critics are eating it up. But then if you look at the fan scores are much lower. So
yeah.
I don't know.
On the vegetable aggregate site, which we won't mention. But speaking of vegetables or ghosts, I don't know, whatever. Weird segue. What are we reviewing?
We are reviewing Hokum by Irish filmmaker Damian McCarthy. This is the third in what I almost feel like is like an Irish folk horror trilogy. Of his first three films feel so interlocked, and I think we'll talk about that more in the spoiler section. But if you have not jumped onto the Damian McCarthy train, I know you're going to take off in a minute. But his other two films, Caveat and Oddity, are out there on AMC Plus. I highly recommend watching those either before or after you see this. If you have not seen Hokum yet, see those two. And then you'll kind of get the whole Damian McCarthy vision of what it is that he has in mind for these films. So, yes.
The Irish folklore shared universe, which, these sort of like grand ideas about Irish folklore. So McCarthy he is Irish. There's a lot of actors in this that are primarily from the Irish film and television world. I've never seen some of these actors before. They're all great. Just two actors who are recognizable, obviously. Adam Scott, we all know him currently, Apple TV's Severance, of course, Parks and Recs. But we should also mention that of all the films that Adam Scott has done, one of his first big films was Hellraiser Bloodlines, which was the fourth in the Hellraiser trilogy. He talks about it fondly because it was his first job. He knew it was a shitty movie. Apparently auditioned for Hellraiser 6 and was hoping they wouldn't recognize him, but a producer spotted him and was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Right? Because his character died in Bloodlines. And then the other actor I wanted to mention is Austin Amelio. He has a brief role in this as a sort of fictional character that Adam Scott's author character is writing. He's the conquistador in the Conquistador trilogy. But I love Austin Amelio. He played the scarred character. He had all this prosthetic on one side of his face. But he's a skateboarder, actor, poet, artist. I think he's very sexy. I love Austin Amelio. He also ended up in Glenn Powell disguise shenanigans bullshit movie. Yes,
Hitman.
That's correct. Yeah. Yes. Stop trying to make Glenn Powell happen. Sorry. But anyway, how do you feel about Adam Scott and any experience with Austin other than The Walking Dead?
So Adam Scott, yes, I'm a big fan. I think the first time I remember seeing him is playing the asshole brother on Step Brothers. I think that's kind of why he got this job. We'll talk about how his character, when you first meet him, is not likable at all. He's an asshole, beyond belief. And that character in Step Brothers kind of seems like the inspiration.
Making a
for
resurgence
this.
here. Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
So yes, I like that he can do comedy, he can do drama. I mean, what was the other Christmas horror film that he was in? That was a lot of fun.
Krampus is one of my favorites. I love that movie.
Yes, I should know that. I have a shirt of it, a couple shirts. So yeah, it was kind of fun to see him join the McCarthy universe. So yeah.
I think he's really sexy. Of course, he has a huge head. But it's weird. As he's aging, I guess his features are becoming maybe a little more feminine. It's not a bad thing, but like I've taken to calling him Grandma Adam. But whatever. Anyway, Damian McCarthy, Irish director, came up from the Irish, film and television industry, basically. Caveat. We talked about that first film. I think that there is a lot similar going on with Caveat with this film.
Yes.
And there is also a lot that's going on with Oddity. But the way that I've sort of fashioned McCarthy is it's almost like he's blending the Tarantino Pulp Fiction narrative style and the way that characters talk with an Irish folklore sort of Blair Witch Project kind of aesthetic. Because that seems to be the thread of each of his films. They have irregular narrative styles. There are flashbacks. You're going back in time. You're seeing characters. Who are these characters? How are they related? And then there's that like punch at the end when you realize how they're all sort of connected.
My opinion is he was or maybe is still a fan of Amicus Pictures and EC Comics and has blended the two together into this little world. A thing that I love about him is that he does turn these little murder mystery horror films that are so simple and so elegantly put together, and you're just getting put on a ride where you're swerving with where the film goes. Now they take their time going where they go, but he has a very unique style, a very profound voice on the way he's telling these stories. But again, they are very much like murder mysteries. I mean, that is what they are. You could throw it back to what's that great film with Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford?
What Lies Beneath?
Yes. Yeah. So those type of films, those type of stories is what this is. Again, if you enjoy that stuff, Tales from the Crypt, Creepshow.
Creepshow was Creepshow inspired by EC Comics, or was it an EC Comics?
I think it was EC Comics, but again, these were always very kind of noirish and more mystery toned, like Amicus Pictures. I think being Irish, he probably grew up watching, which was like Hammer, but instead of doing just throwback period pieces, they were more set in that modern time. And I hope we get an Oddity universe. Like, I would like a TV show, AMC Plus, you own it. Come on. How awesome would it be that all of those little Oddity charms just get sent out to different people?
Oh my God.
So many cool things.
Shudder. Give Damian McCarthy a Faces of Death. Please, God. Give him a Faces of Death. It'll be Irish folklore. He can tie in all of that. There's the character in Oddity that's the psychic I was just like enraptured. I'm like, I want her universe. So really quickly, Colm Hogan, he is an Irish cinematographer. He lensed Oddity. Weirdly, he has touched the U.S. Film industry. He's done like drone operating photography for like Terminator Dark Fate. And then also our music is by Joseph Bishara. He's very tight with Blumhouse and Atomic Monster. He scored like Malignant and Insidious. So we know about Joseph Bishara. There's another Insidious fucking movie. I saw the poster the other day.
I know.
And I was like, God, give it a rest. Stop. I think we're going to have to not really say much about this because like the other films, Oddity and Caveat, these are really journeys to go on and watch rather than spoiling it for yourself. Before we start, the logline for this goes, an author travels to a hotel in Ireland unaware that it may or may not be haunted. I think that's the best we can do without spoiling it, kind of. But what are your spoiler-free thoughts on Hokum? This came with a lot of buzz.
Yeah, had a whole lot of buzz. That's because people have really grown to love Caveat and Oddity. They've become cult horror hits on Shudder and AMC Plus. I was lucky I got to catch Oddity in its 1 week release theatrically.
Nice.
And I fell in love with it really quickly. it just reminded me of reading horror comics as a kid and watching old episodes of Tales from the Crypt, like we said. And I loved that about it. And so I was really super excited. We see Adam Scott. We got a bigger budget. We got Neon that's releasing this. And so I'm pretty stoked. And luckily enough, I think my expectations were met. I think maybe not quite 100%. I think this is maybe, if I was to give any spoiler-free issues, as if you have seen his other films, which I do recommend you do, you're going to see so many things that are so similar that you're going to be able to piece this thing together very, very quickly. So if you're looking at this to be...
I could not. I have seen those other two movies, and I still couldn't piece it together.
Okay.
But
I felt like it was easy to piece together because I seen those other films, and I did rewatch them again for like the third time right afterwards. And of course, I made a list that we'll go over when you come back in 2 days or 3 days to listen to our spoiler when we really go into it. So, but come back and listen to the spoiler. We know you guys do. But I liked this a lot. I really did. It is scary, but his films are too long. Ding, ding, ding. Take your shot. Take your shot.
Yes,
whatever drinking game you play when you listen to us. Yes, it's too long. And because of the way that he languidly paces his films, which are about immersing you into a haunted house vibe with someone holding, this like lantern that's kind of shaky and lights kind of getting in shadows, and you're just into this world. Now, this is not a jump scare film. It is a film about getting enraptured into the atmosphere and solving the mystery and learning more about the characters. It is one of those films that's less jumpy, more creepy, and it does take a while to get building up. I liked that we actually dove into the characters, whereas as other films, we don't do a lot of diving into characters. We got to know Adam Scott's tortured artist, author character really well. We even get to know some of the other characters and what they're doing. And I love the magic realism of it all. His universe is like very real and very tactile, but yet hidden behind the veil that we can't see are these mystical forces all surrounding us. And I love that about his films. And I think that's what drives us as fans of his films back for more. The Irish folklore in all of them are really fun and interesting. Yes, go out there and see this. For me, this is definitely probably my favorite horror film of the year so far. I really dig it. Well, gosh, I can't really say that because I forget about Bone Temple was in January. So I don't know.
And Primate with the awful fucking monkey.
This is better than Primate. This is a better film than Primate. Again, don't go into this thinking you're seeing something gory. His films aren't about gore. They're not about extreme bloodletting. It's about atmosphere. It's about being in a haunted house. It's about feeling, kind of like wanting to close your eyes, but you can't. You're glued into seeing where the light's going to go and what's going to pop out of the shadows. So bravo once again, McCarthy, in making this movie. Thank you, Neon, for giving it a proper release and proper, posters and marketing. Rumors are it's going to be somewhere between 4 and 7 million by the time the weekend's over, which I think is pretty respectable for a small film like this.
Yeah, I think so. Do you know what the budget was?
I've heard somewhere between 15 and 20 million. With marketing, it needs to get to about 35, which maybe it won't. But there's Neon does a lot on the back end with these films. Like A24, they're already pre-sold out to other streamers.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So we complained last year that a lot of the horror films were very much based around trauma. So we got Smile 2, even Mother Mary, there was trauma that became embodied and was sort of like haunting the people. The horror films this year seem to be around establishing folklore or mythology. So Lee Cronin's The Mummy and Bring Her Back. Not that Bring Her Back was this year, but, they had like rituals and sort of like, urban legends and folklore or whatever. Do you like this shift? Do you think that this is part of that shift? And would you like to see more of that? Or do you think we still need more trauma stuff?
I mean, there's still trauma here, right? But we've seen horror go from like torture porn to PG-13s to now, we got the ghost horror. Now I think we're in a nice place away from the trauma of 2015 to 2021, 22, when thanks to Babadook and Sundance Horror, it seemed like all we got was elevated horror or trauma horror that the Scream movies called. So I think it's nice to go back to like creepy things that are behind the walls, stuff that's in nature, things that we've heard about. I like that. I like bringing folklore and the fairy tale nature of horror. I think is totally ripe and primed to be picked and explored right now. And I think there's so much real life horrors going on with wars and, political bullshit that I think it's nice to escape into stories where bad guys get what they deserve and folklore and fairy tales are real. And yeah, it gives you something to grab onto as an American audience. So I can't say enough about this, man. This is so great to me. Yeah. I hope that we get more films like this. It does take patience, and it's not for everybody. I think there was a couple people on my screen that were a little like, ugh. But there were folks that clapped very, very loudly and were very excited. And at the end, were pumped. I did really like the way that it ended. I know some people had qualms with it, but I did. Overall, we'll dive into it, but. This is a good watch. This is a good one. What do you think? Your turn.
So it's definitely a watch for me. I will fight you on the fact that you said there weren't enough jump scares because I was hiding in Scott's arm, like a lot. So, the film, we talked about it, the folklore, ghosts, supernatural stuff. It's a murder mystery, but there's a lot of that Blair Witch kind of what is lurking in the dark. And so these shots of a field of dark, and then what are we going to see? And there are some jump scares that freaked me the fuck out. I think you're right about this. This is, McCarthy likes to establish his own universe and then hope that the viewers can catch up. And in a way that's a bonus to his filmmaking, but it's also kind of a curse because I left with a lot of questions, and I don't know if they're right or not, but maybe that's McCarthy's shtick, right? We'll talk about that in the spoiler section, but you're right. This is very languid pace. It's very slow. I think that McCarthy kind of did himself a disservice by putting a lot into this supernatural stew. So much so that at one point we're like, okay, here's this narrative of the story the author is making, and it doesn't really roll back around. But he did himself a disservice by making Adam Scott's character like Queen Cunt. He is so evil and mean to people that it's a big turnoff for viewers. I almost was like, I hope you get killed, okay?
Yeah, I was like, you're the fucking lead in this? What the hell? But there's so many interesting things and left field, out of nowhere scenes and shots and ideas that get thrown at you that you're like, oh, he's an asshole, but now where are we going? And it keeps, even though this is primarily he keeps finding these weird locations, these great Irish locations and locales.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
To film in. And he just allows us to kind of sit and soak in the Irishness of it all and the overall look and feel of these weird, quaint, and this time it wasn't quaint, very huge mansion. I missed that courtyard from Oddity. God, he got so lucky finding that courtyard.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, the caveat's just so gross. It feels nasty, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Everything about that feels really gross.
And it's weird. The hotel here feels kind of like The Shining in some ways as well. There's sort of references to that. But again, with everything that's in the screenplay, it's almost like looking into the sun. There's so much. And when the impact of Adam Scott's character and what happens to him happens, it doesn't feel as impactful because, oh, you've got this over here and you've got this character over here and da-da-da. And then finally when that happens, I'm kind of like, was it really a catharsis or transformation? He wanted it to be so much of a fun house that he lost the plot, as it were. But it's still, it may not be entirely successful. Take your shots, folks. That's another Watch Get Plus phrase that we use here. But it is definitely worth a watch. And come back for that spoiler because we're going to be talking about a very interesting message that I think a lot of horror filmmakers are taking, that of using psychedelic drugs to get closer to your trauma and seeing clarity, as it were. So yeah, definitely come back. I think it's really good. I'd love to see more from McCarthy. You know, if you go to Ireland, watch out for those hallucinating goats, is all I'm going to say.
And watch this, like, I think if you do wait and see this in DVD, or even I can't wait to watch it with 1408 back to back, because I think there's a lot similarities there.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of Stephen King isms in Adam Scott's character, and I have heard some stories about him kind of being an asshole. So I think there was a little jab there.
I think we've all heard that about the King, but I would also say that this makes a good double feature with Caveat.
Of course,
I am
yes.
most certainly going to talk about that being a bonus and a curse in some ways. In the
I went and
section,
rewatched Caveat as soon as I got done with Hokum that night. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh man, this is just like you've got more money. We'll talk about it more. Come back, everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get to the pod roll.
It's not a good thing. So, yes. So, if you love us, you also love our Podfathers, The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema and Not a Bomb. So this, I think the Not a Bomb Breaking Brad episode has come out. We did King Kung Fu is the film that we did. And once that episode streets, we've announced the next one, which is Glitter, Mariah Carey, which I'm so excited for. At any rate, yes, please tune in. Also, you will love the OG's Night of the Living podcast. And then, of course, our YouTube brothers, the two Johns over at And Now for something a little bit different. Wild Dream Twitch, that's the Wild Dream podcast, Daniel and David. We love those guys. Death by DVD. And then, of course, our biggest fan club, Raiders of the Podcast. Love those guys. Tyler, thank you so much for commenting and shouting us out. Of course, Backlook Cinema podcast with Zoe. Caliber 9 from Outer Space. Feminine Critique, Talk Without Rhythm with Goro. And then, Mike, parting thoughts.
Just as always, get out to the theaters with your family if you can. Get out, support a live exhibition, whether it's film, theater, dance, live music.
Yes, and as always, folks, be kind, be open, be vulnerable. That's where the art is. And we will see you in the spoilered episode of Hokum, because you might want to come back, because we have some good things to say and maybe some bad things too. So, at any rate, all right, folks, see you on the other side.
See ya.